Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Detox Your Database. Today our presenter is Adam Peterson, Senior Product Manager. I'll now turn the meeting over to Adam. Please go ahead.
Detox your database. So let's take a quick look at what we're going to cover today. We're going to go look at what is bad data, how does it affect your business, the steps you need to do in order to detox your database. We're going to cover a brief case study, show you the benefits of high quality data, and then we're going to cover how DMTI can help you. So in order to begin detoxing your database, you have to find a place to begin. Now the first step is knowing where to actually start this process. Since about 85% of data has ties to location, now this is most often the address, this is a great place to begin. Now there are approximately 3.3 million addresses changed per year within Canada. Now we'll cover a few of these changes later on, but they can be municipality changes, postal code changes, and so you want to ensure that this information is correct and up to date in order to have a quality database. Resolving these issues is imperative to that cleansed address database. So what is bad address data? Well, the first type is incomplete address information. This record doesn't have all the information needed to properly locate that customer or the asset. In the case of the example on screen here, we've got 123 Main Street, but it's missing a street direction. Throughout many municipalities in Canada, Main Street can extend east, west, north, or south, so that direction is critical to actually mapping it. The city's present, but we don't have a province or a postal code. If somebody's inputting this address information and they're outside of the region, they might not know what province, what postal code is actually associated with it. It would get added to the database, and then you'd have an incomplete record stored and associated to that customer. The second type is incorrect address information. We've got a similar screen here, but I've tried to input the address for the DMTI headquarters. That's 15 Allstate Parkway, Markham, Ontario. On screen here you can see, however, it's been input as 15 Allstate. That's a space between all and state, and all's been spelled with one L, and avenue instead of parkway. Buttonville is actually a historical alias for Markham. It's also missing a province, and it's got a non-existent postal code. This can actually be more damaging to your database than incomplete information. The last type is duplicate address information. So this can be present no matter how meticulous the data capturing, data entry process is within your organization. Take a look at the example on screen. This is a single company that we performed an address cleansing on, and we identified 24 different iterations of the same address across 8 separate databases. Now in the examples on screen you can see some of them have a street direction, some have a street type, they might have a different postal code. Now imagine these are all associated to the exact same customer, and now they've got 24 records of that customer in your database. You can imagine they might be contacted 24 separate times from your organization, and this can lead to their dissatisfaction. Now thankfully we're not the only ones who have taken a look at how bad address data can affect your organization. According to TDWI report series, data quality and the bottom line, 40% of companies suffered losses, problems, or costs as a result of poor quality data. Approximately 25% of data quality problems are a result of data entry errors. According to Serious Decisions, between 10 to 25% of B2B marketing database contacts contain critical errors. It's important to shift focus from a one-time data cleanse to ongoing data maintenance to reverse course. And according to B2B digital marketing, 25 to 30% of your marketing database can contain useless records. So to put it into a little bit better perspective, a recent industry white paper identified that 74% of customer data is prone to quality problems. And according to Bernice Grossman and Ruth Stevens, authors of Our Data is a Mess, address data degrades at a rate of 3 to 6% each month. So we're going to use that past statistic and take a look at an example here. So if your database has approximately 100,000 records in it, and 3% of these records deteriorate each month, Within 1 month, approximately 3,000 records could be outdated. Within a year, that's 36,000 records. And if no action is taken to your database, it can be fully outdated within 3 years. Now you might be thinking this seems a little bit extreme, but we need to take a minute and look at why the data can actually become out of date. So it can be a combination of factors. This can include your input process. So if there's a lack of automation, this can introduce human error. We've all heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out. You want to prevent the garbage from ever actually entering into the database. As soon as it's within your database, this bad address information, whether it's incomplete, incorrect, or duplicate, can percolate through your database within each multiple silo or iteration of the customer record. Addresses are constantly undergoing changes. Now we've touched on this a little bit earlier. There's approximately 100,000 postal codes are updated each year. So you can imagine that as municipalities are amalgamated, postal codes are changed, it can create a large number of variations on that address. So when you're using a boundary to estimate where those addresses are, it can lead to the incorrect distribution of them. It can lead to problems when you're attempting to create sales territories, when you're attempting to segment the market, or create trade areas. And let's not forget the customers or the assets themselves. There's always ongoing changes to these individuals. People could move into a house, they could have a larger family, they can change their last name, they can change their first name, they can update their name and phone number, or they could just move out, or the home itself could simply be rezoned and an apartment could go in its place. So there's constantly ongoing changes to every single record in your database. And the longer that a bad record is maintained in your database, the more expensive it becomes to your organization. If we take a look at that 1-10-100 rule by Serious Decisions, it states that it takes $1 to verify a record as it's entered, $10 to cleanse and dedupe it, and $100 if nothing is ever done, as the ramifications of the mistakes are felt over and over again. So if we take a look at that previous example of over or approximately 100,000 records within your database, at $100 if nothing's ever done, that could potentially lead to a cost of $10 million. So what are the business impacts of this bad address information? Well, it can create process inefficiencies. It can increase operational costs. If we take a utility as an example, an incorrect address could place the customer or your asset in the wrong service area. Your cost of activating that customer and getting them onto your network could drastically increase. The speed of serviceability can be impacted, and it would really increase those operational costs that you see day to day. Can expose your organization to risk-related factors. So if you don't know where that address is placed, it could be in a high-risk area. You also want to make sure that the address is real so that you have flags and indicators to verify that the address is valid. You can create that inconsistent duplicate address information across multiple organizations. So if your organization uses several databases, you can have that duplicate address input several times. It can decrease your ROI, and it can jeopardize customer relations. Back to that previous example of 24 different iterations of the same address, imagine if that customer got contacted 24 separate times. You can imagine that their satisfaction and their pleasure with working with your organization could very much decrease. So how do you detox your address database? The first step is you want to cleanse it and get that detox for your existing database. The second is you want to ensure that you're maintaining that data quality moving forward. You don't want to introduce any new errors, any more garbage into your database. And then you want to get a better understanding of the address, of the area, and append additional attributes to gain context. And so you can really get insights into that address, into that customer, into that asset. So in order to detox your existing database, you want to have a team focused on data quality. Now remember that data can reside in different departments across your organization. So you don't want to only implement this in a single database. You want to do this across every single database within your organization. The first step is to assess your existing data quality. So your data quality is how well it relates to the actual address information. So this is, does the municipality need changing? Is the postal code correct? Is that information that you've got in your database actually the correct information that relates to the address? Identify duplicate addresses. Now once you've identified duplicate addresses, you can either remove them from your database, you can look as to the reasons why they're duplicate addresses within your databases, but at least you've got a flag there so that you know they're duplicate and they're in your database more than once. Identifying valid addresses. Make sure that the address does in fact exist. If you're trying to identify where a customer lives, knowing that they're actually at that address and that address relates to an existing house, municipality, building, you're going to know that that's a valid record. Placing that address at high precision. Now high precision can be on the rooftop of the house or within the parcel. Once you've been able to geocode it to a high precision, you can accurately segment it into trade areas, sales territories, place it onto a map. You can get a great picture of where that location actually is. And the last step is to assign a unique key to every single address. The purpose of doing this is even as addresses change or there's modifications to the address, that unique key will stay the same. So as you move forward and you're inputting new information, you can use that key to already identify if that address exists or if it exists across any of the other databases you have in your organization. So that was the initial steps, detoxing the existing database. The next step is you want to ensure that any new address data coming into your database maintains that same standards of quality. So you want to validate the address as its input. In order to do this, you can implement some autocomplete functionality type ahead, so you're actually querying real address information. You're going to be able to reduce the manual data entry errors that could be seen and associated to somebody just typing an address, whether or not it's somebody at your organization or a customer on a web form. You're going to reduce that information, that incorrect address that'll go into your database. Using that unique key that you've assigned in the last step, you're going to be able to prevent or identify duplicate addresses. So if somebody's inputting an address that already exists in your system, even if it's a slight variation on it, that unique key is going to be the exact same as an address that's already in your database. So you can flag that and correlate the records together. In fact, you can see a 25% uplift in conversion rates between the inquiry and marketing qualified lead stages. So you've been able to detox your existing database, ensure that new addresses and new information that's coming in is maintained and it's adhering to your quality standards. So now you can append additional information and gain context on that address. So gaining insights on the address, this includes information on how well it was geocoded. Is it a residence? Is it a commercial? Is it a mixed property? Does this address belong in a building with more than 3 units in it? You can really get a sense of where this address falls. Combine that with insights onto the customer. Now this is using an ecosystem or partner information. So you can get information on the demographics of the location, the name and phone number of the resident. You can also understand if it's a business or not. So you can get more information, more context on that address, and then you can get a better picture of your asset, customer, and location. Let's take a step and briefly look at a quick case study with a leading provider of environmental risk data. So the customer approached DMTI because they were performing a manual sort and verification of data derived from hundreds of sources. It was a time-consuming process, it was costly, it created inaccuracies, and it was incomplete. DMTI was approached in order to improve the data accuracy and management, reduce the costs associated with the manual verification, and increase operational efficiencies with the report generation. The solution was Location Hub. By implementing Location Hub, the organization was able to cleanse their existing database of addresses. They were able to ensure that they had the correct information already present in their database. They were able to geocode these addresses with high precision at rooftop or parcel level. They implemented Address Suggest, which is a type-ahead functionality which eliminates any future data entry errors, and combine this with address recognition to ensure that they were always getting the most precise geocode and the correct and verified address in order to automatically populate the address and place it onto a map at its highest precision. This ended up improving the overall accuracy in these generated reports. The outcome of the implementation of DMTI's Location Hub resulted in cutting down 70% of the data analyst's time. Previously, they spent hours manually cleaning the addresses received from hundreds of sources. They increased the percentage of the geocoded addresses to 80%, and this was at high precision. So this high precision geocoded saved considerable time for the report analyst by eliminating manual address estimation and having to then go verify it on a map. The company was able to load data more efficiently and frequently, and they saw an overall improvement in the accuracy of their output report. In fact, integrating Location Hub enabled the company to enhance their own product with features contributed to increasing location accuracy of their report and reduced turnaround time. The results were returned to the customer within minutes. Previously, this required them ordering it and then waiting up to 7 days for the results. So what are the benefits you can see from having this accurate address information within your database? Well, first of all, you're going to get the valid and current address information. So you know it's always going to be the correct address, as it is assigned that unique key. Even as addresses are changed or modified in any way, you've got that persistent identifier on the record. You'll be able to append that additional information to get a better insight into your customer, to your assets, and to the area surrounding the locations that you've got in your database. By implementing Address Suggest, or that type-ahead functionality, you'll find you can have faster and more accurate data entry, faster decision-making and response times. You can reduce inefficiencies, as you won't have duplicate addresses across multiple databases. It'll decrease your operational costs because you won't be identifying addresses that do not meet the criteria, and you'll increase your ROI. You can see a 70% more revenue in marketing campaigns and a 5% savings in sales time. So why DMTI and how do we help? DMTI has over 7,300 data sources specific to Canadian addresses. We update this information quarterly, and we have the most complete coverage across Canada with the highest degree of precision. Remember, I was talking about high precision being at the rooftop or parcel level. DMTI implements its own unique ID for every single address within our database. That ID is persistent, and you can maintain it throughout the life of the address. The address recognition service is a very robust algorithm that's able to identify corrections in the address, incomplete address records, incorrect address records, and associate each one to the correct address record. I spoke a little bit about how you can gain context on that ecosystem of partner content. DMTI provides additional context by allowing you to append more information onto that address. This can be name and phone number, business information, or demographics. It's delivered in a cloud-based infrastructure. It's a SaaS solution which allows it to be scalable and provides real-time, location-based auto decisioning. Quickly, we'll just take a look at some of the verticals and customers that we've helped here at DMTI. So in finance insurance, we've assisted in risk, fraud mitigation, increase in underwriting efficiency, identifying new market opportunities, order to activation and market penetration within telco, public sector in terms of emergency response and increasing operational efficiency, and the accuracy of our data has been a great benefit in that technology vertical as well.